drones, or as their military makers prefer to call them, unmanned aerial vehicles, machines that fly and are controlled remotely. As with all technology, drones offer great potential for good, but there is also great potential for evil because if not restrained, drone technology has the power to utterly rob us of personal privacy, and the introduction of killer drones and killer robots can deliver our descendants into a future of endless, robot-infested war. Project A Future Without War is based in San Diego, California. AFWW's interest in drones grows from the conviction that if we are to embrace a goal to end war, developing a newfangled way of killing each other moves us in entirely the wrong direction. And in 2013, the creation of a bewildering variety of drones plunges ahead at breakneck speed. Consider just a few already existing aerial servants from large to small. Helios, Global Hawk, Reaper, Predator, Switchblade, Raven, and the Nanos, tiny spies that can look like seagulls or hummingbirds. These flyers create the reality that you may have absolutely no idea as you watch them that you are being watched or even targeted. Then there are the microdrones, some that look like bees and can work in swarms, or the robot mosquito. Imagine that such a device can inject a rapid-acting poison into an unsuspecting you. And although they are not yet a reality, military think tanks are designing killer robots, even proposing that military drones and robots be enabled to perform missions autonomously, not even under human control. Ignorance of what drones can do if unregulated is a grave danger to privacy, freedom, national security, and even global security. In April 2013, people sensitive to these issues launched a month of drone awareness in towns across the United States. In 2012, Medea Benjamin, co-founder of the women's activist group Code Pink, spoke at the San Diego Peace Resource Center to promote her book, Drone Wars: Killing by Remote Control. San Diego is a particularly symbolic venue since the headquarters of General Atomics Corporation, manufacturer of the two major killer drones, the Predator and Reaper, is based in San Diego. Encouraged by Medea's talk, a small determined group formed a Drone Diego steering committee to promote 4 days of drone awareness, meeting at the San Diego Peace Resource Center. Eventually, 50 organizations from a variety of faith and civic groups became supporters. Every Thursday afternoon for 7 months, the San Diego branch of Veterans for Peace had been faithfully picketing outside the General Atomics plant in the suburb where Predators and Reapers are manufactured. The first day of action, sponsored by the Veterans for Peace, began on Thursday afternoon. Participants joined the vets for a march. Police presence was evident here and at the other public venues, doubtless tasked to make sure demonstrators didn't block driveways or roads and that everything remained peaceful. You could not find a more peaceful bunch of activists. Demonstrators assembled on private property just east of the plant. Signs and banners expressed a variety of concerns. Arguably topping all of these was the use of drones in warfare. The drone age, using drones for killing as opposed to reconnaissance, can be said to have begun in 2001 on the first night of the invasion of Iraq with a Predator drone strike using Hellfire missiles. Soon after, the United States began using Predator drones in so-called targeted attacks on specific individuals. The first strike, intended to take out Osama bin Laden, instead by mistake killed a man who was simply gathering scrap metal. Targeting is not as precise as authorities portray when selling the idea of using drones against opponents. Why is this of concern? Using targeted strikes seems to make good sense logically and morally because only enemy leaders would be harmed. Far fewer people would be killed than using a conventional missile, certainly fewer than would die in an invasion. The problem is that a lot of mistakes are made, and reliable sources estimate that for every militant killed in a strike, 50 other persons are radicalized. The result is a growing rage, blowback. People living under drones fear to leave their homes for daily chores or send their children to school or gather for funerals or weddings because many innocents, including children, have died. Best minimum, estimates as of 2013 are that in Pakistan alone, a total of 366 strikes have killed up to 3,581 people, with 411 being innocent civilians. Word of these mistakes spreads like a wildfire. Imagine, for example, the outrage of Americans if Chinese drones were killing American civilians within the United States. People living under drones complain of being unable to sleep because of the ominous sound of a drone hovering overhead. The prolonged presence of these hovering killers creates a new kind of anxiety in any community over which they fly. Another shared concern is potential misuse by local police, state, or national authorities. Will we accept unregulated use of drones to fly over border communities, collecting data on citizens living there? Will drones fly over any community within any city anywhere that is viewed with hostility or suspicion by the local government? Who is overseeing the use of drone-collected information? Just how intrusive will collection of data by the state become? Are police and other authorities going to be free to mount anti-personnel, crowd control devices like rubber bullets, tear gas, or tasers on drones like the mounts circled in red on that Shadowhawk? Who will grant them such authority? What will be the punishments for unauthorized use of a drone by anyone? Medea Benjamin joined the marchers, who ended up occupying 4 corners of a busy intersection near the General Atomics facility. TV and radio media were also present, and evening news reporting further served the demonstrators' goal of raising awareness. Day 2, sponsored by Code Pink, began with bannering, marching, and street theater at the General Atomics headquarters and offices in another San Diego suburb. In true Code Pink form, demonstrators put on a no-holds-barred challenge, stressing financial and strategic issues around drone use. A mock drone attack was used to point out that money is being made as innocents die from the not always accurate drone strikes. A touching display of tennis shoes with victims' names on them and pictures of victims drove home the theme that the dead include young people and children. While innocents die, drone makers grow wealthy. An activist outfitted to represent Neil Blue, CEO and part owner of General Atomics, dramatized Code Pink's view that war functions to fabulously enrich and empower an elite few at the cost of the many. Don Diego activists came from 6 states and Mexico. In the evening, they gathered to network, to share concerns, and to encourage each other to persist. On a sunny San Diego Saturday afternoon, Women Occupy San Diego sponsored a midday event downtown at the harbor on the lawn in front of the USS Midway Museum. Surrounded by banners and signs, the socially conscious hip-hop rap band Vibe drew in an audience. Speakers told stories of innocents killed by drone strikes and urged people to imagine, what if the dead were our sons, our children? The Women Occupy San Diego a cappellas sang the classic Where Have All the Flowers Gone and invited onlookers to join in. A small-scale model of a Predator drone simulated discussions, and a demonstration allowed passers-by to see what it would be like for a drone to spy on them. They could see themselves in the drone's video monitor. Activists angry at the Obama administration's heavy reliance on assassination by drone were present and vocal. Once again, the media were present, documenting the event and collecting interviews. What these activists were saying is that people who want to live free in a democratic future had better not be asleep at the wheel as moneyed interests vigorously push their agendas in state houses and Congress. Wake up, these activists across the U.S. were saying. Use of drones is a runaway train that needs to be slowed down until proper safeguards are in place. In the evening, along a freeway, the Overpass Light Brigade of San Diego, joined by the Fresno Light Brigade, used huge electric letters to catch the attention of riders streaming past. The nearby Church of the Brethren was the venue for a dinner and forum. Speakers were Medea Benjamin of Code Pink, Ozzie Mong, former defense industry worker, Dave Patterson of Veterans for Peace, and Pedro Rios of American Friends Service Committee U.S. Border Project. Carol Janko, a key member of the Drone Diego Steering Committee, introduced the speakers and did a summing up. The venue for closing workshops and a general assembly was the art gallery at the Centro Cultural de la Raza in Balboa Park. Workshops ranged from using new media such as Instagram and Ustream to spread drone awareness, to several left-wing perspectives on governmental use of drones to maintain military superiority in furtherance of U.S. corporate interests. This closing General Assembly was a time to assess and to look forward. From the perspective of AFWW, the 4 days of drone action were successful in their goal of creating awareness of problems. There was a gap, however, in addressing positive uses of drones. Drones can be our good servants. They are and will be used in many useful ways. Law enforcement and border patrol can follow fleeing suspects, monitor public events. State governments can use them for avalanche control, to fight fires, to find lost hikers. Businesses can survey power lines, pipelines, construction sites. Fishermen can track schools of tuna. Realtors can survey real estate properties for sale. Scientists are already using them to study hurricanes and tornadoes, track animal migrations, monitor endangered species, and isolated archaeological digs. Hollywood can use them to scout sites for movies, and there's already an online community for hobbyists with more than 30,000 members. And last, but certainly not least, a thriving drone industry can create good jobs, and not just for the military. It can bring much-needed financial income to a community building them. If the public is to make wise decisions, pros as well as cons will need to be weighed. We can have a thriving drone industry, but there are choices to be made. Are we through ignorance, indifference, laziness, or bamboozlement by superior masters of the media going to let the war business machine drag us into a future of endless drone and robot wars? Or will we adopt treaties forbidding their use, as we have against the use of chemical weapons or lasers that render people blind? Because we can be certain that if we, the people of the United States, embrace their unrestricted use at home and their continued use as killing machines abroad, other countries will follow our example, and eventually we will become not the user, but the target. We are already not the only manufacturer of military drones. Israel is the world's second largest maker and user, and Russia, China, Iran, and Pakistan are known to be working on their development. Whether or not the global community is ready to make a paradigm shift to a warless future, AFWW believes that accepting the use of killer drones and unlimited spying by governments or other entities is a tragic choice, and we suspect that armed with all the facts, you likely will agree with us. If you find that you're curious about why we make war and how we can put an end to war, please visit our website, afuturewithoutwar.org, and in particular, check out the essay Shaping the Future.